Well, looks like this is what we're going to have to do. We are not happy about it, but we really want children, and it's looking like this is the only way that we're going to be able to do it. Not once in our initial consultation was there any mention of trying to improve the problem. Anything that we could be doing to, make the sperm quality better. And so we thought, well, let's do a little research and let's see what we can do. We initially just first and foremost researched what kind of supplements that Bill could be taking, and for me too. We started having him take things like L-carnitine. We'd read up on like what specifically helps with sperm quality and count and everything. And so L-carnitine was one. I think we had him taking fish oil. There was I know that Fairhaven Health, their like whole business shtick is fertility and pregnancy and breastfeeding and that kind of thing, and they have supplements that are specifically for male fertility. So I think we had him taking those supplements as well. So we started doing that, and we also started researching acupuncture because we had done a lot of reading that acupuncture can actually be very effective in improving fertility problems. So I started doing some research, trying to find some acupuncturists in the area whose focus was fertility, because there's a zillion acupuncturists out there, but there are a handful where like their entire business was based on acupuncture for fertility and pregnancy. So Bill and I found one that we were very happy with, and we worked with her for, I think it was like 2 months. The only caveat was, we really liked her, and she actually started us on Chinese herbs and everything. The only caveat was that she was pregnant herself, and was quite pregnant. She was like 7 months pregnant when we started with her, so we knew that she was going to be leaving after a little while. So we did the 2 months with her, and then she left on her maternity leave. We're like, we really need to find somebody else that we can stick with long term. So I did some more research, and I found this other acupuncturist that was like a little further away, but her website seemed okay and everything, and that was her focus, was fertility as well. But oh my gosh, let me tell you, I had like this terrible experience with her. I went to her office, and like I had filled out this like stack of paperwork for her to begin with. I went there, and she had 2 little kids running around. I mean, which is fine. I know that people work with kids and everything. Obviously, I love kids and I wanted to have kids. But they were, being a little noisy and like interacting with her while I was like doing the intake with her. I think she got them off like watching a movie or something in her office or whatever. And then this consultation just kept going on and on and on. And I really didn't like her personality. She was very condescending. At that point in my life, I was still dealing with some food intolerances. I was avoiding gluten at that point and dairy. She was having me describe my daily diet to her, and she was just like so condescending. She's like, okay, let me read this meal back to you, like in a very condescending way. Like, so you're eating, let me get this straight, you're eating this and this and this for breakfast, and then you're having this and this and this for lunch and dinner. Like, do you know how that sounds? And I was like, what? I can't believe she was like coming across so condescending. Like if I need to make changes to my diet, great, but like don't like put down what I'm doing now. Like there are very professional, kinder ways to help people make positive change in their lives. So that was one of my first red flags as well, was she's just kind of condescending about that. Then I got to talking with her and I was like, well, we're moving towards starting the IVF process. We were thinking of having acupuncture done throughout that process. She's like, oh, well, if you come to me for a few months, you won't even have to do IVF. And I was like, I'm a little skeptical of that. Really, are you that confident in yourself that you are going to make this devastating problem just like completely stop? Now I understand that we were looking for a holistic perspective, which she had, but she was so far to the other side that she was like anti-IVF. And we're like, well, with our situation, I don't think that's going to be an option. Like we are trying to improve it a bit, but we still might need to do IVF and we want her to be supportive of that and, you know, help us through that process. I had asked her, I was like, oh, so did you guys have to go through fertility treatments? She's like, no, we didn't have to. And I was like, okay, that's good for you, you know. And then she made some sort of off comment about how one of her relatives had a child through IVF. And then she started comparing like her son to like her relative's child who was like an IVF baby. And it was horrible. She was like saying things like, oh, how much smarter her son was, like, and like how she thought that her relative's IVF baby like had issues. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Are you actually saying this to me right now? Like, this is like striking me as like as horrible as racism or something, or like eugenics, or like, oh, it just makes me thinking about it. But she was just saying that like, oh, like, yeah, her son is like so much smarter, and you could tell like, that like babies from IVF are not as healthy. And I was like, that is not true, first of all. And like, seriously, like, here you are like telling this to me. You're lucky enough to have had children without any problems, and you're telling this to me when I'm facing a situation of probably going to have a child through IVF. And I was just kind of appalled by that. And I don't know. So then after this long consultation, and she wrote this long list of things for me to do at home, which it was just like a ton of stuff. It was like completely turning my whole lifestyle upside down. You know, and I'm okay with like making some changes in my life and everything, but this, she was like asking me to like turn my life upside down and like do everything differently. Anyway, so she finally got me on the table and started my acupuncture treatment. And, you know, she had me like face down on the table, and she had my shirt off for that so she could access points on my back. And here I am like face down on the table with my shirt off, and her kids run into the room. Like, how unprofessional is that? Like I said, I love kids. Like, I'm here because I want kids, obviously, but like, still, that is extremely unprofessional to have your small children running into a treatment room in a medical treatment. So after that, I was like, sorry, this person is not for me. Clearly it's working for some people. She has a business that's working and everything, but yeah, I decided, sorry, this is not going to work for me. So I think I emailed her that night, and I was like, I'm sorry, I think our philosophies are very different. I can't remember if I said something along the lines of I felt like our interaction was kind of unprofessional. Anyway, and she said some sort of, I can't remember what her response was, something about good riddance. Funny enough, I found the little list that this crazy practitioner had given me, and it's kind of ironic now. I look at it and I'm like, these are actually things that we have done to change our diet now. She was actually recommending a lot of the things that we have done now, like fast forward a couple years. But anyway, but I didn't have that perspective then, and her delivery was just so horrible that I didn't even want to listen to her, you know? So, yeah, bedside manner, and how you communicate things makes all the difference. So we were back at square one again, and I had to find another acupuncturist. So I did some more research and found another one in the area, and I really liked this guy's website, what I saw on there. He seemed very professional, and decided to go have a consultation with him. So Bill and I actually went together for that appointment to have that initial consultation with this acupuncturist, and oh my gosh, it was like night and day from this like crazy experience I had had before. So Bill and I had our first consultation with the new practitioner, and we were both so impressed with him. He knew his stuff, and he was all about combining Eastern and Western medicine, and he believed that both of them were really important, that the Eastern treated the holistic side, could definitely heal certain parts of fertility, but he was not so overly confident like, oh well, my treatment will completely cure you. He was still realistic about the fact that we'll probably be able to improve things, but you'll probably still have to do some kind of Western treatment. So he was all about doing them together, and we were like, yes, I think this is most realistically the situation we're going to be facing, so we want to have a practitioner that is supportive of that. So we were very pleased with him, and we decided to go forward with him. And actually, he is the acupuncturist that we are still seeing today. Now, he is phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about him. He has been the most supportive practitioner in our entire fertility journey, and he still does like pregnancy acupuncture for me now, like I've mentioned in some of my pregnancy vlogs. So fantastic, fantastic practitioner. He was kind of far away. We had to drive a ways to get to him, but totally worth the drive. Like, I've recommended him to all my friends who have had fertility issues too. Just phenomenal practitioner. So we started treatment with him. He was also talking about how while it was a male factor problem, it was also just important for me to be getting acupuncture as well, and to be treating my system, because sometimes there are, even if there's not something that's obvious on the surface from a Western perspective, there's still a lot that can be done for female fertility as well from an Eastern perspective. So he had us both start doing acupuncture. It was like once a week, I believe, and he had us start Chinese herbs as well. So we continued that for another month or two. So by the time we had started our initial acupuncture with our first practitioner to about a month into with the new practitioner, we had about 3 months of acupuncture and Chinese medicine specifically for this problem. So our acupuncturist basically said, well, 3 months is a good time to get Bill tested again, since 3 months is how long it takes for sperm to mature. So, you know, the sperm from the last 3 months would have had time to respond to the treatment that we've been having. So he thought it was a good time to go in and get tested again. So we went back to the fertility center that we went to before. Our acupuncturist had, since he's like so in the know, he knows all of the fertility specialists in the area, like all of the clinics, all of the specialists, all their names, like who focuses, like who specializes in what, and it's awesome. And so he's like, why don't you see this doctor, because he focuses on male factor infertility, and he has a much warmer personality too. I think you'll like him a lot better. So we took our acupuncturist's advice and went and saw that doctor, and we really liked him. Liked him a lot better than the first one we saw. He did have a much warmer personality and much more sensitive to the emotional aspect of everything we were going through, and he was just incredibly knowledgeable about male factor infertility, since that was his specialty. So we had Bill tested again, and we got the results back, and basically it definitely improved, but you know, it had gone from absolutely horrible to bad. After the 3 months of acupuncture treatment, his sperm count had gone up to 7.5 million, which was way better than the initial 0.6 million in the initial test that we had. But still, the minimum for normal fertility was 15 to 20 million, and it was still only 7.5. The motility had almost gone to normal range, so that was good. And the rapid linear score, which was the sperm that were able to swim in a straight line, while the initial test had 0%, it was now up to 10%, which was good. You know, the minimum for that was 15%, and the morphology was up to 3%, and the minimum for that was 4%. So it definitely was better. After we got these results, then we went back to the doctor. We said, so things have improved. Do you think they're to a point now where we could try doing IUI, which is intrauterine insemination or artificial insemination, instead of IVF? Because IUI is way cheaper than IVF, like way cheaper. So we asked him because we wanted to see if maybe spending less money was an option for us. And he said it might work. Like, I would definitely say it's more likely now than it was initially, but the odds are still pretty darn low. He said that his prediction was if we did that, we would end up having to do many cycles over, and we would still end up spending quite a bit of money, and it might not work. So he said that, you know, his count was, and sperm quality was still low enough that in that range he would still recommend doing IVF with ICSI. So here we were, we're like, well, this is probably just going to be our reality. I think we're going to have to face the fact that if we want to have our own children, we're going to have to do IVF. So we went home and we prayed about it, and we decided, well, looks like this is what we're going to have to do. We are not happy about it, but we really want children, and it's looking like this is the only way that we're going to be able to do it. So we decided, obviously we weren't going to be able to just like start the next month, because we still had, I mean, we had some money saved, but it wasn't nearly enough. We were going to have to save a little bit longer. We had decided that, you know, we were planning on going on a trip to Scotland with my family. We decided, well, we're going to have to forego that so that that money can go towards our treatment. And we were going to try and sell our house and buy a new house, and we're like, well, we're going to have to forego that too, in order for us to afford fertility treatment, and we're just going to have to live simply. So, you know, it was going to be a huge financial sacrifice, but after praying about it, we decided, you know what, like, we got to do what we got to do, and you know, it's such a deep desire of our hearts that we are willing to go ahead with it. So we decided that we're going to have to wait, you know, another 6 months or so of saving money. In the meanwhile, we would continue trying on our own and continue doing our acupuncture, since that was clearly helping. And, you know, we were hoping, well, maybe we'll just get really lucky and get pregnant. Probably not. But we did keep trying and charting and doing the whole shebang. And soon after that, we actually found out that the doctor who is specialized in the male fertility, we found out that he was retiring, or that he was leaving this practice, and we were like, what? We actually found a doctor that we liked, and now he's leaving. What are we going to do now? So we talked with our acupuncturist again, since, like I said, he is in the network, like he knows all the doctors in the area. And first of all, I forgot to mention too that the doctor and our acupuncturist agreed that it would be good for Bill to see a urologist at the fertility clinic. So before we decided what we were going to do about finding a new doctor, we decided to at least have Bill go see the urologist. So he did that, and just to rule out any like physical causes, or, you know, they did some genetic tests, blood tests. They got all of that back, and almost all of it was normal. There were no red flags. Genetically it was normal, and they basically, you know, were like, well, what's the cause? And the urologist was like, well,
basically it's probably just a congenital problem. Sometimes we don't know, you know, idiopathic, which means they don't know. They don't know why. So something that he was born with. And basically he was telling us, well, there's not much you can do about it. It's probably irreversible. And this is, you know, and he also recommended that we were probably going to have to do the IVF with ICSI. Anyway, so then after that consultation, we're like, okay, well, we've ruled out all this other stuff. Like, all right, we need to move forward and find ourselves a new reproductive endocrinologist, since this other guy was leaving the practice. So after talking with our acupuncturist, he was like, well, what if you consider going to the university in the area? They have a small fertility clinic there that was actually just started up again in the last few years. The head doctor who's leading that up had actually been at the university doing this years ago, and now he left to do his own fertility clinic in California, and then came back to start it again at the university. And our acupuncturist really liked this guy, and so we looked into it and found out that it was slightly cheaper to get it done through the university, since they're like a public institution. Still not cheap. You know, I think they charge like $8,000 versus like $10,000 to $15,000 for IVF, not including all of the other stuff surrounding that. So we decided to, you know, a few $1,000s is a few $1,000s, right? So we decided, well, let's get started with this clinic. So we made the switch and started seeing the doctors there. It was actually a team of 3 doctors. And we were very pleased with our initial experience with them. They seemed very professional. We really liked the main doctor, the one that our acupuncturist was talking about. And he really knew his stuff. And he was, like, of all of the doctors we had seen, of all of the like reproductive endocrinologists we had seen, this guy was definitely by far the most sensitive. He was like very much in tune with the emotional side of infertility, and very caring and very sensitive. And he had been doing this for like 20 years, so we really trusted him. So we decided, okay, this is the place that we are going to do our IVF treatment with. We told the doctor, you know, we decided, okay, we're going to go with you. We really like you, but we are going to need to save money for a while. So we will call you guys when we feel like we are in a financial place where we can get started with the whole process. So that's where I'm going to leave it now. Thanks for watching, you guys. Stay tuned.